CEO of LaurelRutledge.com, the creator of the Rutledge Perspective podcast, and now I am the host of the Rutledge Perspective on KCOH-TV, The Boost, and I am so excited. My background in human resources and also in business and consulting has given me the opportunity to share information with all of you. And what we're going to do is talk about the foundational pieces, whether or not you're building a business or you're building a career. It all comes down to strategy and people. If you don't know where you're going, how do you know who needs to be on your team? So please join me, join in the conversation, catch the show both on the radio, on the app, and also on Facebook. And I will be on Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to seeing you there.
Good morning. It is Tuesday and I am pumped today. I'm so pumped. Why am I pumped? Because early voting started in Texas today. Whoop, whoop. And it's just, y'all, I know it's a little nuts, but I love voting. I love voting day. I love voting on voting day, although I will be voting early this year. I absolutely will be voting early this year. Good morning, Covington, Kentucky. Good morning, Covington. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'm trying something new, so hopefully you guys on Facebook can hear me. Because I've got a lavalier mic on today, so we can get a little bit better sound on the Facebook Live. So we're going to start with some public service announcements because that's what we do. First of all, remember you can still fill out your census until end of October 31. So remember, you can still do that. It is still important that you fill out your census, that you get counted. Please do that. 2, small businesses, people who have applied for unemployment, people who have applied for PPP loans, those kind of things. Remember that the FFCRA, most of the stimulus, all that stuff goes away at the end of this year, 12/31/2020. So make sure you're paying attention to your dates as you're doing stuff. The other thing to be aware of, the whole idea of payroll taxes and not having to pay payroll taxes. I am not giving you financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I am someone, though, who has to budget her money just like many people. I would suggest that you talk to a financial advisor about whether or not you need to be putting away that money that you would have been paying in taxes, because eventually somebody's going to ask you for that tax money if your organization has really stopped taking out payroll taxes. The other thing to think about, this is what we talk about, education, folks, education. Payroll taxes helps fund unemployment, and payroll taxes help fund Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security. So those unemployment taxes, FUTA and SUTA, federal and state, as well as your FICA, they help fund these programs that are not entitlement programs because people have been paying into them for the entire time they've been working. So just know you might want to pay attention and not just automatically start spending that money because your paycheck might be a little bit bigger because they're not taking out taxes. Just FYI, and that's just probably my risk management mind. Just pay attention. Okay. Voting. It is voting day. People are lined up in Texas. So here's the deal. Here are the states that early voting starts this week. Maybe today, but maybe later on this week. But it starts this week, sometime Monday through Sunday. Georgia, I know you guys have already been showing out. Kansas, Kentucky. Come on, Amy McGrath. Louisiana, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Nevada, North Carolina, Rhode Island, Virginia, Washington State, and Wyoming. So these, and Texas, of course. These states have early voting that starts this week. Early in-person voting that starts this week. Make sure that you are double checking. Can anyone early vote? Or are there some rules around early voting? Like there are some states who don't have early voting at all. There are some states where it's only absentee voting early, and then there are other states where anyone who wants to vote early, that's in Texas. If you want to vote early, you can vote early in person in Texas. Started today. Now, so I'm going to be Harris County specific, y'all. In Harris County, there are going to be several polling stations that are going to be open for 24 hours, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on October 29th and 30th. They are NRG Arena, Cashmere Gardens Multi-Service Center, McGovern Texas Medical Center Commons, East Harris County Activity Center, Tracy G Community Center, Jurgens Hall Community Center, and Victory Gardens. They're going to be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 a.m. October 29th until 7 p.m. October 30th. So they are open 24 hours. So if you end up having to wait till later, because our early voting ends at the end of the month, those are some places where you can vote, and they'll be open 24 hours. Additionally, we have some drive-in voting places. Again, NRG Arena Blue Lot 16, Toyota Center Parking Garage, Fallbrook Church, Kingdom Builders Center, Houston Food Bank, HCC West Loop, Houston Community College West Loop, HCC A-Leaf Bissonnette, Humble Civic Center, or Resurrection MCC. And you can cast your ballots there. Those are drive-up locations, okay? So there is really no excuse, y'all. Now here's the challenging news. In Texas, the governor of Texas decided that each county could have one place to turn in ballots. One place to turn in ballots. Your mail-in ballots. One ballot box. We have 2.7 million people in Harris County, and it covers 2,000 square miles. One box. That ruling was challenged. The district court, federal appeals court in Louisiana, this morning said it's okay to have one ballot box. If nothing else, regardless of your party affiliation, this is a direct result of the judicial appointments that have said it's okay to suppress vote, because there has been no widespread evidence of voter fraud. None. Zero, zilch, none, nada, nothing. Okay? So, if nothing else that tells you your vote counts, this is it. Okay? One place in all of Harris County. So think of all the people that are going to be challenged to get their ballot in, right? Disabled, elderly, those who don't have regular transportation. Now, luckily, our box is at NRG, so it is on bus lines, it's on the train line, that kind of stuff. But think if you're living way out of Harris County, okay? So, vote, vote, vote. Regardless of what your party is, vote. And remember, in Texas, we don't have straight ticket anymore. They got rid of that last time when there was a sweep. So, no more straight ticket voting. You have to vote for every office, or every piece, every proposition. You got to vote for everything. And please remember to vote all the way down the ballot. Your city, your local elections, your county elections, your local elections, your state elections are just as important as the federal elections, okay? Because it all starts locally. So, vote, 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 vote. Voting day, Harris County, started today. Come on, y'all. Show up, show out. My girlfriend and a group of friends went this morning. They were in there 45 minutes. I understand that one of the locations is about 2.5 hours right now. As we said, make a plan, take a snack, take some water, take a book, whatever you need to do. Apparently, so far, people actually seem to be really pleasant. People are excited. People are getting out and voting and wanting to vote. Make sure if something happens and you are not allowed to vote, you say, please provide me with a provisional ballot as required by law. Do not leave without your provisional ballot if you're not being allowed to vote. Okay? Please provide me with my provisional ballot as required by law. If you're standing in line and people are challenging you or there's something going on, make sure you contact a poll worker. If the poll worker is the problem, then make sure you have whatever number you need. I think there was something posted, but I did not verify it. So, I'm always worried about putting stuff out there that I have not personally verified. There's supposedly a number you can call if you are being somehow targeted or harassed or somebody who claims to be a poll worker. So just make sure you're protecting yourself. Make sure, just be kind, people. Just be kind. Because it's voting. So just vote and just be kind. Is there somebody out there, Jerry? Mm-mm. So vote, please. Vote. Got my voting pin on. I'm so excited. Okay. Why are you laughing at me, Jerry?
Is there somebody out there, Jerry?
Well, because I saw that. I heard the door. Just checking. Want to see if I need to duck. Okay. So, those are the opening things today, the public service announcements. Also, go get your flu shot. Now, here's why I say get a flu shot. You're looking at somebody who has never, ever, ever, ever gotten a flu shot. I got a needle phobia. So I don't volunteer for any needles. Ever. I also got a mom who is 79. And we don't know what's going to happen. You know, we're starting to see cases rise again. Winter is coming. People are going to be indoors. And I thought, you know what? Let me just make sure, just in case, right? So I got my flu shot. My little arm hurt. But I did it. I did it. So just a suggestion, not a requirement, just a suggestion. I'm just saying, if I can get in there who can't stand needles and volunteer to get a flu shot, everybody should consider it.
Did you go to your regular doctor?
I went to my regular doctor. Okay. Yeah, I happened to be going in there for something else. So I said, well, let me just, they had to draw some blood anyway. So I'm like, well, I'm getting stuck anyway. So let's just get it all done. Okay, so think about your flu shot. So today, we are going to talk about self-awareness as a key part of self-care. Good morning, California. I got Richmond, Texas. So glad for you guys to be here. And Leela says, in California, look at your driver's license to match your signature. That's a good point, y'all. When you're voting, one of the things they're looking at is signature match. So make sure that however you sign is matching, because they're going to be. So most people are just trying to do the right thing, but there are going to be a percentage of people who are looking for a reason to not have your vote count. We did have an issue in Odessa, Texas, where a few people got a ballot that had incorrect instructions on it. So the ballot itself was okay, but the instructions were wrong, which meant that you could easily have your vote dismissed or not counted. So make sure you're paying attention to instructions. If the instructions don't make any sense, call your county clerk's office, your registrar's office, and get the specific instructions. So we want to make sure that you can vote. So make sure your signature matches. And here's a challenge with signatures, guys. I was talking to several people the other day about this. As you get older, your signature changes, right? So you may have tremors. You may not be as strong. Something changes. So that is not always the best thing to do, but understand that is one way to check right now, because we haven't necessarily moved forward in that. So I just want everyone to be prepared. Educate yourself. Make sure you know who you want to vote for and why. Make sure you pay attention. If there's some specific local propositions and things on your ballot, make sure you have read them. I believe they purposefully write propositions and things with a lot of legalese so that they are confusing, where sometimes yes means no and no means yes. Make sure you are really reading and know what you're voting for and why. So just educate yourself. Whatever your position is, I just want you to be able to make sure that your vote reflects your position, whatever that is, because that's the whole point. We all have a right to vote, and we all have a right to a voice. Okay, so self-awareness is a part of self-care. This came up because I've had this conversation a lot, and this is really broad. I'm talking about this on my podcast this week too. Self-awareness can be an extremely broad topic, extremely broad. It can be self-awareness in how you show up to work. It can be self-awareness in how you deal with other people just in general. It can be whether or not you even recognize there are other people in the world. I had to go into Sephora, let's not say had to, because that's not true. I went into Sephora the other day, and I was standing in line. You know, just like everywhere they have these circles for you to let everybody know what's 6 feet apart. And there's another woman in there. She did not have on a mask. She had on a face shield. And they say you have to have some kind of face covering. And we all know the science around face shields versus masks. So all she had on was a face shield. She was clearly in a hurry or something. And she was buzzing around. She was on her phone. She was just moving. She was not paying attention at all to how close she was getting to people. She ended up getting in line behind me. And every time I moved, she moved up. Every time I moved, she moved up. And there was a woman in front of me who kept looking at me like, why are you getting so close to me? And finally, and then I kind of looked at her, you know how you do, your eyes. I'm like, it's not me, it's her. Because I'm not going to be close to her because she looks like she's got some issues. And so I finally turned to the woman and I said, I need you to please just back up a bit. And I wasn't ugly, but I was clear. I just need you to back up. And then she looked at the floor, realized she wasn't even close to a circle, and stood back. But that's also a piece about self-awareness. She was not aware at all of not only what she was doing, but what she was doing to other people. And so when I talk about self-awareness being a part of self-care, That's part of it. It is that piece of understanding how we fit in the world and how we fit with other people. But it's also starting to really recognize in yourself when things aren't quite right, when things don't feel quite right. And that self-awareness can be a little bit harder to understand. It can be a little bit harder to deal with. Because it takes a level of willingness to acknowledge that something doesn't feel right and to sit with that, practice the pause, and to do something about it. Or put yourself in a place where you can at least start to do something about it. So we talked a little bit over the last few weeks, and we're getting into be this short time of year, and I truly think I might have seasonal affective disorder. Because when the days get really short, it really just weighs on me. I need sun. I need light. And so those really short days where you wake up and it's dark, and by the time you get ready to go, it's dark, it's heavy for me. And so, in coming out of my birthday, this felt kind of heavy this year. And yet, I have spent a lot of my life being pretty self-aware. We were just told and taught as we were young to pay attention to what you're doing and what you're saying and how you're acting. So I'm pretty self-aware anyway. But here's the deal. It is important to understand the difference between paying attention to your actions and your activity and understanding the impact of those on other people. So, I'll start it out by giving you a professional example, and that's what we're going to kind of stick to today as much as possible. Although, as always, if you have comments or questions, please send those because I love engaging. And yes, you're right, Leela, those people who listen to music or have long conversations on speakerphones. I remember doing that on planes. I'm like, put your headphones on. I don't want to watch your movie or hear your movie. So, many, many years ago, when I was working in a professional services firm, we were in the midst of our talent review process. And so we were having all these meetings talking about people and who was on what project and what we're going to do and all this kind of stuff. And some of those conversations get pretty heated naturally because you're talking about people. And I remember getting out of one of these meetings, and not only we were talking about people, but then we were also starting to talk about a particular project and a particular client. And I got out of that meeting, and I had to go into another meeting with a partner. And the partner said, "You know what? I love having you on my team." I don't remember if I've told all this story before. I've told it to a number of people. But I love having you on my team because you're willing to get in and have some really difficult conversations and discussions, and you're willing to kind of mix it up, and you're okay with that. And I'm thinking to myself, well, yeah, of course, I'm good with that because it's not about me. We got stuff we got to solve. And then he said, and that's what makes it great. He said, but, and I thought, uh-oh. He said, but here's the thing. You're able to move through those really difficult conversations with ease and come out the other side and be okay. Because for you, it's not necessarily that you're concerned that your idea is the one that we take. You just want to make sure we get everything out on the table. But you need to recognize that not everyone's brain moves as fast as you do, and not everyone can detach emotionally from their idea or their perspective like you do. Because many people are tied very personally to their idea or their perspective or their point of view. So you got to pay attention that you're not leaving people in your wake. And I was hurt, devastated, distraught. Oh my God, I can't believe this, right? But then I had to process it. And that became a really big hinge-pin in my professional self-awareness. Because my intent was not to hurt anybody or think their idea was stupid or any of that. And I'm always careful with my words. But remember, people do listen to your words, but they watch your behavior, right? And they watch your tone. And it's kind of like in the South when we say, bless your heart. People know exactly what you mean. If you say, oh, bless your heart, versus, bless your heart, we know exactly what that means. And the person does too, right? So your tone, as well as your behavior, indicates what you really mean. So what I realized over time and have realized over time is that for me personally, I don't have a poker face. And I'm not going to get one. It takes way too much work to get a poker face for somebody with a personality like mine. And because I don't have a poker face, but I also want to make sure that my messages get conveyed appropriately, that I am able to make sure people are engaged and feel supported and valued. What I can do is manage the words that come out of my mouth and the tone. And so I take really great care in, if my brain and my face are saying, I can't believe you brought us something that's so crazy, I have my words say, okay, I'm confused. Can you help me understand? And I do mean that as well. Now, I may mean in my spirit that sounds crazy to me. But I also mean, okay, let me take a pause, because maybe there's something in there that I'm just not seeing. And instead of going at the person and accusing them of not being with the program, find out what their perspective is, find out what's going on. So I am self-aware enough to know that my face is saying something different, that I have the option to control my words and my tone and my behavior, and that eventually the outcome is going to be different. Because at the end of the day, leadership is about ensuring that everyone feels valued, everyone has a voice, and you don't have to be in a leadership position to lead. Leadership is not position related. Leadership is behavior related. So, self-awareness and self-care. So giving you those examples. Here's the thing that is really critical around self-awareness. It is important to be aware of how you show up. And not just the physical, not just your hair, not just your clothes, not just are you appropriate for the place. It is your stature. It is how you walk. It is the level of confidence you portray. It is whether or not people see you as aloof or disconnected. And here, for you people, now, I'm not tall. For those of you folks who are tall, here's something to think about. And I don't know that anybody's really thought about this. When you are tall, especially really tall, I'm talking 6'5" and up, it is very easy for you to come across as aloof, disconnected, unapproachable. Why? Because since you are so tall, you can be looking straight forward and be seeing over everybody's head. You don't ever have to make eye contact. Because there are very few people who are really going to be on eye level with you. And so it's very easy for those of you, especially who are very tall, and also have a tendency to be more introverted, don't necessarily want to be connected with people, or if you're just that person that doesn't want to be bothered that day. Understand that just your stature and just the way you are designed, physically designed, can give you an aspect or an affect that says, yeah, I'm disconnected, I'm better than, I'm taller than, I'm more important, whatever. And that may not be your intent at all. Your intent may be, I just don't want to have any conversations today for whatever reason. Or I'm on a mission, or I'm just trying to get somewhere. But if you never make eye contact with people, and you never acknowledge them, that can come across as disconnected, aloof, unapproachable. That's a piece of self-awareness. So it's not slamming you because you're tall. It's not saying that you have to start slouching or dressing different or make sure you say hi to everybody that you approach. It's just understanding that simply because of that stature, it puts you in a position where you may be giving off a vibe that is unintended. And that's important. That's a part of self-awareness, especially in a professional setting. If you're always running late to meetings, that is a part of self-awareness. Not only are you running late, you come running in, you look really flustered, what the message that sends to people is either, one, you're just really disorganized, right? And it's just not. Or you could send a message that says nobody else's time is important. So I think there was a movie, Princess Diaries or something, that said, somebody told the queen that she was late. She's like, the queen is never late. Everyone else is just early, right? So if you're always the one that's behind, what message is that sending to other people? So it's not always about you. It's not always about you. Self-awareness is being aware enough of your behaviors and your affect in combination with how it impacts others. Right? That's what's key about self-awareness. Because the ability to take that and turn it into something that is more powerful, more authentic, more connected is key. So, again, I don't have a poker face. And there are things that really kind of would, especially right before I left corporate, that really just invaded my spirit. I was just tired. I was tired all the time. I was tired, I was frustrated, I was irritated, I was angry, all of those words. And so, but because I am self-aware, I knew that it was starting to impact the way I showed up for my team. So my ability to be pleasant, my ability to be patient, all of those things were starting to wane. And because I knew that, what I would end up doing is saying, okay, I would go into a meeting. If it was a particularly crazy day, I would go into a meeting with my staff and I would just say, okay, guys, here's some things that are going on. And it's really heavy today. And I got to really focus to make sure that I'm protecting our people and protecting our team. And I'm really not in a space that is as accommodating or as patient today. So please understand, it's not you. It is my trying to manage all of this other craziness that's going on. But because I was aware of how it was impacting me and how that might show up, I was able to at least give people a heads up so that no one was assuming that they had done something wrong or that I was about to fire somebody or whatever, right? So that self-awareness, again, in that professional setting, enabled me to understand how my behavior was impacting someone else and how that was showing up and how it may impact the ability to lead, and more importantly, how it may impact the ability to get a message across that you really want to get across. Key messages. Because if people are worried about what they think you think or what they think you believe, they're not hearing what you're actually saying. They're already paying more attention to your behavior than your words. So if everything's all disconnected, they don't know what to do. And you wind up paralyzing your team. Or worse, you wind up with behaviors or comments or feelings that are completely wrong because the fundamental assumption was wrong. Now here's the deeper work and the harder piece of self-awareness. True self-awareness and getting to the things that really are core to you is very hard, very difficult work. And it can take years to get there. And professionals to get there. And I am, as I've said on this show before, I am a believer in therapy. Find a really good therapist. Because we can all use someone who is completely objective to help us work through craziness. And right now, times are really crazy. That work around self-awareness that is really deep when things don't feel right, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to your goals. You owe it to the people around you, the people you love, the people that you are supporting, the people that you're engaging with, to ensure you are doing your work and that you love yourself enough and respect yourself enough to do the work. Because at the end of the day, the one person that has to live with you is you. So if you can take the time and give yourself the grace to, one, take a pause and say, something isn't feeling right. This didn't used to bother me, but it's bothering me now. Or I don't understand why this is happening. I don't understand why I responded this way. If you can take the time to do that and delve deeper and ask those questions, that becomes a piece of power in your toolbox. Because you are well enough aware that when it triggers, you can see it and you can feel it and you can respond differently. You can catch it in the moment. Now, that's not to say we don't all have our moments, because we do. But especially as you continue to move through your career and people start to watch you, because someone is always watching. If you can manage so that your behavior, your actions, your words are always what you want them to be, or at least most of the time are what you want them to be, and not just gut or knee-jerk reactions, then your ability to really be consistent and then build and develop and maintain trust, because you're showing up consistently, your behavior is consistent, your words and behaviors are aligned, that really begins to build your leadership reputation. That begins to build your personal reputation. That begins to support your brand, whatever you want that brand to be. But that takes that willingness to say, okay, that didn't feel right. I don't know what happened. That didn't turn out the way I wanted to. Let me take some time and ask some questions why. And I would suggest that you do the root cause why, which is asking why 5 times. That didn't feel good. Why? Well, because their response was different. Well, why was their response different? Well, because I probably said something that I wasn't supposed to say. Well, why did you say something you weren't supposed to say, right? So asking why 5 times gets you probably to a root cause, or closer to a root cause of any situation. It was actually started in, I think it was Toyota in manufacturing, started that kind of 5 whys. But it is easily applied to just about any situation of continuing to ask that question of why until you get to kind of, there is no other why. That's it. That is the root cause. And so if you can give yourself the grace and the love to ask that question, to ask why, to delve deeper into what it is that is keeping you from showing up the way you want to show up authentically, that self-awareness and that ability to then make behavior modifications is really powerful. Because then you can be and believe and show up the way you want to show up for the people you want to show up for. And there is so much of a gift in that, because remember, showing up is not about you, it's about the other person. Self-awareness is about you, but the way you show up and the way you interact and the way you serve is about the other person. It's not about you. And the reason I say that self-awareness is the foundation of self-care is that you have to be a little selfish in order to be selfless. And part of that selfishness is giving yourself that power of the pause, giving yourself that time to say, ooh, that was not good. Let me figure out what's going on. Giving yourself the chance to say, you know what, this is not normal for me, but that means you got to know you. I'm going to say that again. That means you've got to know you, and you've got to be honest with you about who you are and what's normal and what's not normal for you. By giving yourself the opportunity to delve into that, it is more likely that you will begin over time to see when things get disconnected sooner rather than later, so you're able to respond sooner rather than later, or modify sooner rather than later, or stop the spiral sooner rather than later so that it doesn't manifest in behavior that you don't want. And again, it's not easy, but if you can find a way to really become self-aware through having a great focus on self-care, I am telling you, your interactions with others are going to change dramatically, and your peace of mind is going to change. Your sleep is going to change, your spirit's going to change, all that kind of stuff is going to change, because you're able to go back and say, okay, I know this doesn't feel right, but I've given myself the opportunity to figure out why, and then I can understand, because I can do something. If I know why, I can do something about it. If I'm just walking around saying, oh, I don't know, that doesn't feel right, that wasn't right, I don't know why that happened, and you don't give yourself the time to figure out why, you're going to keep repeating that pattern over and over again. You're going to keep feeling that feeling over and over again, and nothing's going to change.
Can I ask a quick question on that? When you talk about self-awareness, when you came into the radio station today, I always walk ahead of you and I walk fast because I'm coming in here to get some salt and spray down. But when you first started coming here, I walked very slow to accommodate you to come in. Yeah. But then after I got to know you, I'm like, you're gonna have to deal with this.
Right.
I'm gonna do this. Right. So is there a time where that may be your true nature, but you kind of make it different, adjust it until people get to know you?
Right. No, that's exactly right, Jerry. Because like I said, I move fast, I think fast, I keep moving. Mm-hmm. But not everybody can keep up that same way. And not because they're not smart or not capable or anything, they just work differently. And so I had to modify my behavior in kind of those big settings, especially when we were talking about big issues and big things that were potentially volatile. Mm-hmm. Because my nature is to say, let's just get it all out on the table and figure out what we want to do. Mm-hmm. If it's my idea, great. If it's not my idea, fine. As long as it's a good idea and we've talked about everything. But not everybody is there. And because that's where I felt, I knew that I would get really impatient with people. Mm-hmm. Really impatient. Or if I'm having this conversation and somebody's always talking about, here's the big picture and here's where we're going and this is why. And I'm like, but what are we going to do to get there? Mm. And if people are like, we're going to do this and this and this, and I'm like, but where are we going? Right? So for me, it's about really balancing. And I could find that I get really anxious when things aren't balanced. Mm-hmm. It's one of the reasons why this season, this voting season, election season is so hard for me. Because everything is so dramatically crazy. It's dramatically crazy. People are picking information that supports their argument as opposed to having the confidence in their position to just present all the data and let people make their own decision. So you absolutely, at times, are required to modify your behavior, not change who you are. That's not what I said. Mm-hmm. Modify your behavior to ensure that your message is heard by the person you are talking to. And that doesn't mean you're selling out. That doesn't mean you're not authentic, because there are multiple ways to communicate and still be authentic. So I could slow down, right? I could lower my voice. I could not be as passionate. I could talk lower and get my message across. That's all still me, because that's all still in the toolbox.
when you said about the modifying, because I thought about that when I was walking ahead of you today. I said, I wonder, is this rude to walk so? And I said, well, no, by now she knows you, and she's a fast walker too. She knows
I am.
This is like home to her, so she just comes in. Because I don't think sometimes we think about that.
Yes.
Maybe it's not faking, but until you build a relationship,
right.
you have to, okay, this would be rude to walk too
exactly.
fast before them. But once you build that relationship, Sherry Duff Patterson in St. Louis.
Good morning, Sherry.
Interesting point about the tall people, sort of introverted individuals. Thank you for sharing self-awareness. Because she's very tall. She's like 6 feet, and we went to high school together.
Right.
And so when you're tall like that, people can make the assumption.
Exactly.
I used to say, why with a swan-like neck? We would just joke around about it, because she walks very regal.
Yes.
But
Yes.
she was really down to earth, but
right.
people assumed that she
right.
was, above everybody
exactly.
else. So how do you
think about it. Think about it. As you're growing up, because I'm telling you what, schools are just like pits for despair, right? Because you put all these kids together, and who's got what shoes, and who's got what's clothes, and who's fat, who's skinny, who's in, who's out. I mean, there's so much drama in schools. And so if you're, and everybody grows and develops and matures at different rates. And so if you are tall, you're the tallest one in your class or what have you, one of the tallest ones in your school, and you're not confident, or there's something in you, or there's something that has happened, or things people have said to you that made you want to shrink. That's why you see a lot of people who slouch, right? Because they want to shrink. They don't want to stand out. And so that ability to stand up straight and be regal and own your height, own where you are, is a beautiful thing. And it takes a certain amount of strength and self-confidence to do that when you're younger. As you get older, it doesn't necessarily take the same strength and confidence, because you kind of may have gotten past some of that adolescent kind of bullying stuff. But if there's other things that have happened to you along the way that just say, engaging with everybody is just too much for me. I don't. It's easy to then take that height or take that whatever and use it to your advantage to set up barriers, right? So I don't have to make eye contact because I see above everybody's head all the time. So I can act like I'm just watching ahead of me, or I can act like, oh, I didn't see you, right? When I really didn't intend to see you, because I see everything. I see everything, but I don't want to engage. And so it's just a matter of understanding, again, that self-awareness. I say, because I would love to be taller. And don't get me wrong, I'm okay with me. It's taken me a long time to get there, but I'm okay with me. But there have been places where I'm like, oh, it would be so nice to be taller, because then I could just get that thing off the top shelf instead of getting on a step stool, right? But when I see people carry themselves with that confidence and just the head up and the shoulders, it's just awesome to see that. And I have seen folks who have used that to disconnect. So it's just about self-awareness. It's not good or bad. It's not right or wrong. It just is. And it's about the impact to the other people who are watching you, because people are always watching.
Well, when you said that, because I thought about growing up, I was more or less would keep my head down and walk slouched over, because I was always the taller and the bigger one in the class, and kids made fun of that, little kids. And so my mother always taught me, hold your head up high, walk with your shoulders back. And so I have adopted that. And so people always assume, oh, she thinks she's somebody, or she's the boss.
Right.
But that's the way I had to go from being afraid to being not aggressive, but bold and courageous.
Right.
And so
and confident.
People get wrong ideas, because people always thought I was mean because of my stature or whatever, and it's totally different. But I, change some things and modify that. You can be the broad shoulder and walk confident, but don't act like you're going to kill everybody.
Right.
You got all the confidence.
And that's why it's important to be self-aware. And it's not that there's a fine line, y'all, right, between being so concerned about what everyone thinks about you that you just can't be you. So I'm not talking about crossing that line. What I'm talking about, especially in a professional setting or in any way that you need to engage with others, is understanding about how you present yourself, how you show up, how you talk to people, how you engage with people, and what that does in terms of managing or impacting the engagement. And so, a really good friend of mine, she's on today, a really good friend of mine, we worked at a professional services firm together. And I remember when she first got there, I was like, because one, she's gorgeous. She's gorgeous. She's a dancer. She's just a beautiful person. And I remember a few months later, actually probably wasn't even that long, literally walking up to her desk, and I said, you know what, I really wanted to hate you, but you're all right. Right? And it was because I saw this person come in who, and was not aloof, but was very much, now to this day I know, one, because being a dancer and being in a situation where you're always being judged, right? Knew someone was judging her at some point. So you didn't necessarily always engage everybody. You weren't being aloof, but you weren't necessarily just reaching out to everybody either. And now we've gotten to be just the best of friends, been friends for over 20 years. But it's that same thing, right? We make those assumptions. Again, I think I talked about it last week, that 7-11. It takes 7 seconds for someone to decide about you, to develop their perspective of you. And then they make 11 judgments in those first 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you know you're really tall, and you know sometimes that has a tendency to come off as disconnected, maybe at some point, and sometimes we're just in our heads about stuff, right? We're just on a mission, so it's not intentional. But if we are self-aware, we know this. And maybe what we do is every once in a while you just look around and smile at somebody. Maybe you stop and shake somebody's hand. If you are in your zone and you're walking really fast, maybe you slow down and talk to somebody. Right? And I walk fast. I have to tell y'all a funny story. So my mom and I both walk really fast. So we go to the mall or we go somewhere and we start walking, and I'd be holding her arm and we're walking and talking. Next thing you know, both of us are breathing hard. And I'm like, why are you walking so fast? She's like, why are you walking so fast? Right? Because we're used to walking fast, but then you don't realize that all of a sudden you're jogging with somebody, right? So it's that self-awareness that we finally had to say, look, just slow down. We're not trying to go anywhere that fast. But knowing that happens, and knowing how that can come across, and knowing how that connects with what you want to do, how you want to show up, what you want to convey, that's the power of self-awareness. It's not changing who you are. It's not shrinking because you're tall or bowing up because you were always bullied. It is showing up authentically you and understanding that sometimes you may have to modify, not change, modify your interaction with people to combat those perspectives that are formed so quickly.
Yeah, because people used to say all the time, smile, and I'm like,
yeah,
stop telling me to smile. But I took pictures and I say, why you weren't mean? Why were you mean like this? So
yes.
I'm grinning and skinning.
Yeah.
Sherry says, I'm working on my 9-year-old daughter now, and she is 5'1" and has sort of an introverted personality. She's taller, bigger than the others in her class, like her mama and her Aunt Jerry. It's funny because they live in St. Louis, but I saw a picture of her daughter. I said, she look like me.
Yeah.
And so she sent this, her daughter loves me being on the radio.
Yeah.
Did you see that little picture?
Yes, that was awesome. Said, yes, with the dog. Yes, that was awesome.
Now, see, I could have got offended. Because
right?
she had big old eyes and purple hair. Anyway, I wasn't offended. No, but anyway, that's the way the baby saw me.
Yes, yes.
I like that because I believe that you should work on it early.
Yes.
Than later.
Yes.
Because if you are a statuous woman, you have a tendency to shrink back if you're not. If I didn't get that enhancement from my mother, I would have shrunk back.
Right.
Stayed back.
Right.
So I think, are we talking about people who never really know that they needed to take a self-awareness? How do you get that self-awareness if you were never taught self-awareness?
Right. And I think that's a really tough question, right? That's where the village becomes important. Who you surround yourself with, right? And it's hard for kids because kids don't necessarily get to select who they're around or who's around them. They don't. And especially those who don't have people around them who have their best interest in mind. It's very difficult. And I was talking to some people yesterday on my summit, and I said, even when you think about careers, often we have people who start to do a career because somebody else told them that's what they needed to do, not because they're excited about it or want to do it. And it happens a lot in schools, right? We test our kids, we give them assessments, we say, oh, you would be good at underwater basket weaving. And what they really want to do is be a scientist, right? But the test says you can't do that. And then they go to a guidance counselor who is overworked, got too many kids, maybe not have the kind of training that they need or should have. And they're like, yep, underwater basket weaving, you don't need to apply to Harvard. So we've just completely decimated this kid and the kid's dream. Not out of malicious intent for the most part. You have that 1% of people who are just trying to hurt everybody because hurt people.
Yeah.
But for the most part, people are doing the best they can with what they have. And they are doing what they learned. And so I think the thing to do is in your circle, because again, leadership and servant leadership is not about position. It's about attitude and behavior. And in your circle, if you see people, especially if you see children who could use some assistance, do what you can to help that. If somebody could just use being pumped up, do that. You know, when I went for my birthday, I got to see a good friend of mine and met his 12-year-old daughter. And I hadn't seen her since she was like 2. So it'd been 10 years since I'd seen him and his family. And this young woman blew me away. Blew me away. And you can tell she's a little shy, a little reserved. But we started having conversations, and she was really getting my attention and blowing me away from the beginning. But then we started saying something about climate change or something, because we always get into these really deep conversations. And my friend Renee asked her, well, what do you think about whatever it was? And she said, you know, I'm only 12. I don't have enough information right now to form an opinion, so I'll get back to you. And I thought, now that's what I'm talking about.
That was good.
That's what I'm talking about. She was very confident in her age, in her knowledge. And she's like, but I'm going to go do some more research. Because I have what I think is an opinion, but I don't have anything to really back it up.
That's good.
And I was like, that's what we need. That's what we need. And so she has had people in her life who have given her the freedom to have her own thoughts and perspectives, and who have encouraged her to go find those and go get information. So I say to Sherry Duff Patterson, keep pumping your daughter up.
Yeah.
Because I'm certain she is just beautiful.
She is.
We are all beautiful in our own way. And so if we can find a way to pump someone up and say, you know what, you, be the best you can be. Be aware of if you are shying away. You know, I had someone else say, I'm really concerned about my kid because they don't really want to participate in stuff. And I don't know whether it's because they're shy or because they're afraid. If they're just shy, we can work on that. If they're afraid, I'm concerned. Because I don't want them to walk through their life fearful. And that's the other thing, you know, when you see people who are really disconnected, really people who appear to be really aloof, a lot of times that's just about fear. That's about fear of judgment. That's about fear of engagement. That's about fear of being hurt, being judged, right? And so that self-awareness, not only for us as individuals, but also being self-aware enough to understand what assumptions we're making about the other person that may be impacting them to exhibit the behavior that we are concerned about, that we're making judgment on, right? It's cyclical.
Yeah.
None of us operates in a vacuum. We are all connected some kind of way.
She says, I tell her all the time, anywhere I take her, everywhere I take her, that she belongs there and to walk with confidence, because she does shrink back in certain environments. And I just remember my mother would always say, you're an energy that can't be contained. You don't have to take stuff from people. You don't have to, because she knew that I was lacking that confidence. But at an early age, I'm grateful that she did that, because I still live off of that. And I think that when you said that, even with people that we come in contact with, we should speak that kind of life into them. Especially when we see something that's lacking.
Oh, yeah. And I would much rather have to pull you back than have to push you forward. You know? So I would much rather have to say, ooh, okay. That was great. I'm so glad you engaged. I'm so glad you were paying attention. But let's talk about your perspective and how you conveyed that and how it may have come across. As opposed to having to pull information, drag some, you know what I mean? Yeah. I would much rather have to rein in the passion than to try to push the passion.
That's good.
Because there's so many more teaching moments, I think, in reining someone in than there is in pushing someone forward. That's just Laurel's perspective.
Laura, you made a valuable point when you talked about even as we get older, our handwriting changes. And I looked at, when you said that, I went correctly to my driver's license when I last took that picture, and it's just sporadic. And now my writing is a little different. It's not sporadic, but my mindset was sporadic. When I did that, when I signed that driver's license. So basically what you were saying, that in age will change you. Yeah. If you're aware, it could change you for the good or the bad. Right. Are we supposed to make sure we're looking at the changes?
You know, I think we always, my perspective is that you should always be paying attention. You should always be paying attention, because we do not live and exist in isolation. We may be isolated, but we don't live and exist in isolation. At some level, everything we do impacts someone else, right? even though I really have a problem with them. It's like homeowners associations, right? One of the reasons they exist was to help maintain, property values and make sure people weren't doing crazy stuff and all that kind of stuff. I think they have swung the pendulum way too far when you're telling me whether or not I can paint my door a different color because I'm paying taxes on that piece of property, right? Mm-hmm. So my mind gets a little locked with some of the things that homeowners associations do. But fundamentally, it's a microcosm that says everything that you do somehow may impact someone else. When you're driving, if you're driving crazy, you're impacting somebody else.
Yeah.
If you hit somebody, you're impacting somebody else. If you're walking across the street and not paying attention, not only are you endangering your life, but you're endangering the life of the person who's trying not to hit you and maybe hitting somebody else, or that squirrel that can't decide which way they want to go across the street, mm-hmm. right? So what does it say? The world is littered with squirrels who couldn't make a decision or something like that. So that willingness and ability and desire to really be self-aware and then to take that information and do something with it is powerful. It's really powerful because it gives us an opportunity to engage and interact in a way that is authentic and builds trust and can take us to where we really want to be.
Yeah.
And that's the point. It's we all have something we want to do. We all have somewhere we want to be or some person we want to be, some way we want to act. And if we can be self-aware enough to ensure that we are paying attention to that, then we increase our odds of being able to be who we want and where we want and get where we want to go. And it's not easy. It's not easy because you do have to have a level of confidence to be able to say, "Oh no,
yeah.
that wasn't right." And if there's anybody I know me.
Yeah,
I know me, and there are things about me that I'm like, Laurel, we're going to continue. We're going to be working on this until you're on the other side of the daisies, and we know that. But I'm keeping working on it. And then there's other things like not having a poker face, and I'm like, you know what? That's just who I am. That's just who I am. I am not going to get a poker face at this time in my life. However, because I'm aware that I don't have a poker face, that means that I pay attention to the words that I use and the tone in which I use them, so that what I say does not necessarily reflect what's on my face. As I said earlier, instead of saying, "Ooh, that is just nuts," I say, "Help me understand," because maybe I'm confused.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, I may be confused. Because depending on what my mindset is at the time when I'm listening to you, I may have heard something that was absolutely not what you meant or what you said. And so I need to be enough aware of my own mental state, right? My own emotional state when I'm engaging with someone else, because that does impact what we hear and how we respond. So self-awareness, having self-care, means giving yourself the time and the energy and the space to work on self-awareness so that then you can work on the behavior that comes out of that self-awareness. And that's what's important.
Like when we say that you can tell how a person feels on their face, you can see. I've had to work on that because when I don't like something, my eyes get real buggy real, and I'll be like, what? And working on facial expressions because people have picked that up and read. And I just told you earlier today, I said, I felt like you yesterday, I was saying, I'm tired.
Right.
And I said, because you pick up.
Yes.
Because what you feel, you just said it.
Yes.
What you do affects someone else. Okay.
And those of us who tend to be, they call it introverts or empaths, empath with an E, empath, where we really do pick up other people's energy. I do. I pick up other people's energy very easily. And it's one of the reasons that I love doing what I do. I love doing the advising with individuals. I love doing the advising with business owners. I mean, this summit that I'm doing, I'm having the best time, and I have to go to bed when I'm done. Because I'm giving out a lot of energy, but I'm absorbing everybody else's energy. And people that are closest to me, I absorb even more of that. Which means when they're upset or when they're disconnected or something's happening, I feel that. And I don't necessarily have to be with them to feel it. I just know something isn't right. And I've learned enough about myself, and I have given myself enough grace to, when I'm feeling really off and really dark, like I talked about over my birthday, really dark, I take the time to sit with that and say, why? Is it me? Is it someone else around me? Yeah. Is it something that's surrounding me? So that then I can take action. Because if it's not specifically me or my environment, then I start reaching out to people like, what's up? Something's off, right? because that energy, that drain impacts my ability to serve and impacts my ability to do the work I want to do, because I truly can get to the place where I just want to go to bed because it's so much energy that I'm absorbing. But because I know that, I also schedule my life, or try to schedule my life accordingly. I try not to have 10 people at a time on a day that I'm doing individual counseling with. It's too much because I want to show up 100% for each person. But if I'm doing 10 in a day and I'm trying to take a break in between, it's just more than I can handle. So instead of feeling guilty about saying, oh, I'm sorry, I've already got 6 people, I need to move it to another day, and feeling bad about it, or feeling like, oh, well, they're not going to do business with me, I got to, Because here's the deal. If I can't show up well, they're not going to keep doing business with me. That's true. So I would rather be forthright and forthcoming. I've got too many people this day. I need to move it here the days that are open, if that works for you. And if not, we can figure out something else. But it is better for me, knowing me, to be honest and upfront about that so that I can serve in a way that serves others. And that's about being self-aware. And having enough self-care that I'm willing to stand in that and own it. That's what it's all about. So I wanted today to talk about that because there's a lot of heaviness right now. There's a lot of heaviness right now. We have been in this COVID thing since March.
Yeah.
March. Yeah. We are all exhausted and ready to go out and just see some people without a mask on. Right? Well, we are seeing people without masks on, but you know what I mean. I'm ready to be able to make up my whole face and put my lip gloss on, right? That's what I'm ready. I'm ready to see somebody's whole face smiling. I'm ready to see some teeth.
But you're not ready to snatch your mask
off. But I'm not ready to snatch my mask off, right? No. We will continue to be compliant. Okay. Because that's how we roll. But it is exhausting, and what happens is we manage the best way we can, but after a while it just gets to be heavy. And I've even found myself, I'll go someplace, and I always have my mask with me. But I found myself getting out of my car and just walking. I'm like, crap, let me go back and get my mask. And it's because it is now October.
Yeah.
And masks are not normal. It is not normal to be wearing a mask everywhere you go. It is not normal. It is our new process and our new MO and the new necessity. But it is not normal for human beings to be walking around just every day wearing a mask.
I went to Sam's the other day and ended up buying some more masks. And I thought to myself, I remember coming into the radio station and said, listen, I'm not going, y'all buying all these designer masks, putting your initials on them. I'm not doing that. I said that and I meant that.
Yep.
I didn't know we were going to still be doing
right.
So that
this many months later,
I got mad because the declaration was like, yes, you doing it.
I know. I was just thinking this weekend, I'm like, shoot, I got all this material. I need to go make some more masks because I've been wearing the same one, right? And it's a whole new industry. Yeah. Match your head wrap to your mask, to your top, to your jeans. Everybody's matching.
Wow.
So if you gotta wear it, you may as well be fashionable, right? But that self-awareness and self-care means that, one, we do have to take care of our physical beings. We have to take care of our mental beings. And this is perfect timing too, because Mental Health Awareness Day was Saturday.
I didn't know.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, wrapping this up is what I wish for all of you, and I want for all of you, is to take some time to become more self-aware and to take self-care seriously, so that then once you are aware, you can do something about it. And you could make behavior modifications if you need to, and if you choose to. When we know better, we do better. But we also have choices. As I say, I'm not going to spend the energy to get a poker face, but I am going to spend the energy to ensure that what I say and how I say it is how I mean it. And if it doesn't come off across that way, that I understand that as well and can do what I need to do to either fix it or modify it. Because I am standing in self-awareness.
That's it. Want me to shout out the people that are
shout out.
We got Indianapolis. Good morning to you.
Morning.
Chicago, St. Louis, Missouri, Los Angeles, Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, Texas, San Antonio.
Oh, cool.
Decanter is showing up in major numbers. They're increasing daily. So Champaign, Springfield, Decanter is tuned in. And we also have the Philippines, Germany, and United Kingdom.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you, everybody, on my Facebook group as well. California, Texas. I just so appreciate it. I appreciate everybody showing up. These are my favorite days. Early voting time. Go vote. Educate yourself and then make a decision. We'll see y'all next week.
Wait a minute. When you said that, I saw something people were trending on Facebook and saying, they said, if you don't know, don't go. What is that train of thought?
So people are saying, if you don't know who to vote for, don't just go. So I think essentially they're saying don't waste your vote. Mm-hmm. But here's what I would say. We got plenty of time. Go no. So you can go. No, so you can go.
People doing that. I'm like, why are we saying that? Though?
No. Go educate yourself so you can vote. Don't give up your vote because you're not taking the time to figure out who you need to vote for. No. See, no poker face. No.
Yeah, because
that's lazy.
We post some judges that I'm going to be voting for. These
right.
are just suggestions.
Right.
In case you don't know, you do need to educate yourself.
Yes.
You got to be careful of saying if you don't know, don't go.
Yeah, no. Go. You have plenty of time to educate yourself. It is October 13th. Election day is November 3rd. Early voting is starting. You have time. And with all the commercials on, you know who's running. Go look them up. The folks that have been in office.
That's another question, though, since we got you here real quick. But with that being said, people are saying because they're not saying if they're Democrat or Republican, if you're paying attention to some of these commercials back in the day, they say you're Democrat, whatever. What they're not doing that now.
So here's what I would say to that. Number one, really pay attention to who's supporting the commercial. Most Democrats are putting that they're a Democrat, as most Republicans are not putting that they're Republican.
Okay.
So that's number one. Number two, don't be lazy. It's October 13th. If you're relying on a commercial to tell you, don't rely on commercials to tell you who to vote for. Because commercials are propaganda. Commercials are designed to sway you. Commercials are designed to make you fearful. Commercials are designed to make you buy something. Commercials are designed to get you to do something that the commercial wants you to do. I stopped watching them because it's just like Photoshop. People are putting stuff in and taking pictures from other places that don't have nothing to do with what they're saying. All you need to get out of a commercial is the name. Here are the names that are running. Now let me go do my own research. Don't be lazy. Don't let your fear or your laziness or your busyness, I'm not even going to claim you're lazy. Don't let your busyness prevent you from educating yourself on who you need to vote for.
Can I say this? You said something, and I know you don't want to fix that. But Dr. Fauci, with him being in that commercial, the thing he did is what you've been saying, though. We know him not to be political, so the people that know him and have watched him and observed him, he has been the same way.
All the time.
So you know that when he speaks out
be
against
discerning.
Yeah.
Don't believe everything. Like they say, don't believe everything you see.
Yeah.
Don't believe everything you see. Right? Because there's a lot of stuff that comes up that's just not real. And we are smarter than that. We are not sheep, people. We are not sheep. People like to make you think you're sheep, but we are not sheep. Look at the commercials to know who's running. Then go do your research. Make sure you vote down the whole ballot. Local, county, state, federal. The local ones really count, y'all. Look at your propositions, read them. Propositions are always written to confuse you. Always. I think it's intentional, but maybe that's a conspiracy theory on my part. I think it's intentional. Go read them, go understand them, and this is the time, as I said last week. If you are having trouble comprehending what's going on, if it doesn't make sense to you, or if you are confused, this is not the time to be embarrassed. This is not the time to be fearful. Go find someone you trust and ask them. Ask them. Get unconfused so you can make your vote count.
And still go.
All right, yes, ballotpedia.org is a great place to go. Ballotpedia.org. All right, y'all.
What is that for?
It has information on your ballots. You can actually pull down your state ballot.
Ballot what?
Ballotpedia, PEDIA.org. That's a great place to go.
Okay, guys.
All right, guys. Happy Tuesday. Go vote. We'll see you next week.
All right, guys. Thank you.